Welcome back to Anchor Designs. I'm James. Let's get started.
In today's video, I am finally, after a lot of thought and effort, getting rid of the hated Myford cabinet, and this will spark a bit of controversy, and it has done on the Myford Facebook page. I don't like the cabinet. I don't like the Myford ML7 tool cabinet that you'll see a little bit later on. I have bought a 36-inch Halford's Advanced tool cabinet that has a weight load capacity of 500 kg. So I'm finally getting rid of the tool cabinet for the Myford. I'm not a fan. The reasoning is because I feel it's the wrong size for the lathe. It's an awkward shape, the shelves aren't particularly very good, and I could quite easily build some drawers with nice sliders in there, and I've still got a load of waste of space either side of those. I've seen people do some really nice things with the cabinets. It just doesn't work for me. I've got all my lathe tooling and my milling tooling knocking around the workshop in different areas. I want to bring everything together and reorganize the workshop. So I've got quite a few changes happening within the workshop, which you'll see later on in the video. This isn't a permanent workshop for me, and I'm hoping this year might see a change of location. A purpose-built shop that I'm going to be having. It's been my dream for many years now, but this place is kind of wearing a little bit thin now. So it's been a big year for me. I've recently moved here. This workshop is fairly new to me. I've been in here for about 4 or 5 months now. It's okay, it's got power. I've had to do a lot of work. It's not particularly watertight, and it does a job. It's cheap, so it does a job. The main job today is going to be mounting the Myford Lathe on a 15mm base plate that I had made. I had some levelling blocks with my first Myford that I had, and that went with that lathe. So I had this quite large plate made. I've got the holes to drill out. We're going to be using some transfer punchers, and we've got some a base plate that I need to put on under the metal base plate just to protect the cabinet. So a few things to go through, a few little tips and tricks, and it's a little bit of a thought for the people on the Myford Facebook page. Had a few questions about that, so follow along, see how I get it, and pick up any tips you might need.
Next job I need to, whilst I'm here and doing nothing, I'm going to unbolt this. I'm going to lift it up, move it over here, rest it on the plate, centre it up. It needs cleaning up before I reassemble everything. And I'm going to use these through the holes of where the base needs to be mounted to the base plate. And these are called transfer punchers. These are very cheap. And what these do is these go down the bore of the hole, and they are a centre punch effectively, but it will guarantee you a central position within that hole. And they cost nothing, and they've been really handy, so you don't have to measure out and mark up and scribe. You can sort of position it. Nice and quick, easy way to do it.
Just to protect the top of the toolbox under the base plate, I'm using, it's called Buffalo board, phenolic board, mesh deck. You get different names for what it's actually called, but it's used typically for lining out the bottom of vans. It's really tough stuff. It looks like plywood, but it's got a really tough hard coating on the top. And it's only, I think, 12mm stuff this is, so it's really good, nice and heavy duty and easy to cut, and it will give me a nice solid base.
I remember lying because this wasn't cut off very well. This came on top of the toolbox, which is the exact measurement that we want, so I can use this as a template. And I'm going to use this the squarest edge that I've got, apart from this trim line that I need to do. So just as a rough guide, rough template, we can use this. So just a top tip to keep in mind.
Starting to get ready now to move the lathe. I'm just unbolting it from the old cabinet stand here. As you can see, it really does let the lathe down, and I bought the correct paint. I had every intention to restore the stand. I put it on casters to move it from my last shot, but never really got round to it, and I'm glad it's going. So it's on eBay at the minute, so whatever it goes for, it gets put towards the toolbox. With any old machines like this, they don't like to be moved, so be as careful as you can. Wind everything in, especially the little handles that are on the side, you know, on the cast handles that go on the front, the winding wheels, whatever you want to call it. They don't like to be moved, so just bear that in mind and try and make it as easy as possible. I'm a bit daft, young, naive, whatever, so I can move this myself, but it's not easy, but I can do it.
So there we are. So I managed to slide it on. It was easy enough. Ideally, you're better off doing this with two or more, just to make it a little bit easier, but I'm impatient and I'm only moving it from there to that little step up. So all in all, yeah, went easy. Not too much of a problem, so I'm pretty happy with it. I put just some tape on there because it was going to slide on the edge on here, so just to protect the paintwork a little bit better if I can. I want to go around and clean this up, but to be honest, my workshop is in chaos right now, so I need to get it done. I need to get this job out of the way and done. I need to wait till payday to, you know, hopefully buy another one of these if they're still in the sale. I've got some electrical stuff that I need to tidy up. This cable's been pulled, unfortunately, when I moved it in here. But central wise, personally, I think I'd like the plate in the middle for where that's going to go. I'm going to bolt through this onto the cabinet and either make or get some really large size washers for this. I was thinking about just tapping into the plate, but I want this, I do want this as solid as it can be, so I'm going to bolt this down to the cabinet itself and build up some packers below, just to give it the best possible support. It's pretty thick steel on the top, and it is designed to take, I think, about 1/2 ton metric, so I think I've got 470 kg in my head that it can take on the top. You know, people put engines on top of these, so I think the lathe should be okay on top of here. It's not going to damage the box. I asked the bloke in the shop, and he says, "Yeah, I've seen a few of them done like that." So, you know, he seems pretty good. So, I'll take his word for it. But it looks a lot better. You know, I've got access to storage now. I can put, you know, the little bit of tooling that I do have organised for it. And it matches in with everything else. I went through a stage of not having, I don't now, but being quite tight for stuff. Not intentionally, but just not being able to afford to have, you know, organised tool cabinets. And I've got a point in my life now where I can, you know, be able to afford, you know, a toolbox like this. And it just means that I'm not having filing cabinets and, you know, in the corner I used milk trolleys for years, and there's nothing wrong with that, and, you know, they've been brilliant for me, and I'll keep the small little mini filing cabinets because they're great, but you know, you buy a nice lathe and you put it on top of filing cabinets. This has been on top of a few filing cabinets in its life. I don't know. I think it should be treated like a classic car. Any sort of machines, looked after and remain the custodian. Okay, let's use the transfer punch on these holes, get that lined up, and get that plate drilled out and ready.
Using the transfer punches now. If you haven't used these before, you just need a little tap on them. They're not that hard, especially the cheap ones like I've got. Just a little tap to find the position, and then go over them with a centre punch after, and it works really well.
You've slid all the Myford across onto the old stand. I've just put some bolts in it just to I don't know, really, peace of mind. And we have used our transfer punches. So I'm hoping you'll be able to pick this up here, but that's one that we had just there. And the other one is just there, and that one is just here.
The fourth mark you can't actually get in with a transfer punch, well, the length that I've got. You could shorten it down, but I didn't want to cut them down to length. So the front two holes that are closest to the headstock, they're actually the same width apart. So you can just copy those across and put those in there. So if you are doing it, not a problem, or you can make a template from the top of the cabinet if you've got one already. If you haven't, doesn't really matter. You can do this a few ways. You can put it on a board, rest the lathe on top. You can use some spray paint through the holes, let it dry, and then you've got a template. So there's a few ways of doing this. I just measured them out, so a few little options. So going to go across on the drill press and cut those holes out. And usually I think the bolts I've been using is about an M8 size, but I have I'm going to drill the holes out just slightly bigger. It just make it easy, really. It's got a little bit of a wiggle room, bit of movement. So I'm doing these to about 9.5 mil, 3/8 ish. So just something to bear in mind. Give yourself plenty of clearance.
Okay, so we've taken it off the old manky looking cabinet and we've put it on the nice looking fancy new toolbox cabinet. The previous video got a little bit cut off and the camera froze because I am also close to freezing. It's a pretty cold night at the minute, but we've just drilled this this plate on the pillar drill, and I wasn't brave enough to do everything on camera, so I already have checked these and they all fit in really nicely. Hopefully you can see that okay. Now what I want to do is take this back off again, put it on the old cabinet, use this now as a template, take out one of these drawers, and then bolt this so it's nice and solid, and build a backsplash, if you want to call it, where I can hang up the chuck key, so it's, it's nice and accessible. I'm not going to go the full way across. I'm just going to have a border up here. That makes sense. So a border that comes across on the top. Two reasons is I use these barbecue covers that you can buy from Wilkinson's. I need to shorten it, but I want to be able to sit quite nicely. Like you would on a motorbike or something like that, or your barbecue for that fact. So that's going to be another video. I think I'll whip out a sewing machine, and it's a nice little hack for people, especially if you're in a bit of a wet and damp shed like I am. But it does the job. So that is much better than that. So it's been a few days. I've finished from the Christmas break. I have gone back to work. Life's kind of got in the way, so I haven't had long, and I've left it a little bit longer than I wanted to do. But here we are. So I finished off the lathe cabinet. We'll start off in this corner here. And for some reason in my previous videos, I said that this plate was 10mm. It's definitely not. It's 15mm. I don't know why I had 10mm in my head. But it's 15mm steel plate, goes all the way around, and it is bolted to the top of the cabinet. So we have everything screwed onto the top on here. So this is nice and solid. Worst thing I did was put this on the Myford Lathe Facebook group. Wow, I got slated for putting a lathe on top of a toolbox. Although these toolboxes are designed for half a metric ton, so 500 kg, and I got slated saying that the toolbox will collapse. Yeah, I think it's going to be okay. I think it's going to be fine. The casters are much bigger than the basic Halford's toolboxes, and they do a lot better. Next job that I am doing is I'm getting rid of this table that I made a while ago, and I'm going to be making a steel frame similar to that that's capable of taking that toolbox. And then I have a new project that's coming up, which is going to be the anchor. And the battery's cut off. Fantastic. So the next project is going to be, I'm going to make a steel frame around that with some box section. I'm going to make the frame a little bit longer to compensate for the length of the base of the milling machine, which is going to be seated there. And then, which gives me that little area to have a new project, which it's going to be a little bit different. I've drawn it up in Fusion about 6 times now. And I've sent it to the laser cutters. They've given me a quote back. It was very expensive. I could do it, but I had a bit of an idea to use 2-slot shop fittings, make a box section frame, a bit like a shelf that you see in like a supermarkets, but really heavy duty. And I've got a lot of small machines like these that are, would need a 500mm shelf. I've got things that I use often, like the hydraulic bullet vise, mini vise. I've got this that I use a lot for the squares that I do, and then I've got a lot of woodworking. Recently bought this bandsaw, bought it off Facebook Marketplace, 20 quid. Went there, bloke says didn't know what's wrong with it. Brought it home, pressed go, and it worked fine. No idea, a little bit strange. Bought some new blades for it. So I want to be doing more woodworking in 2020, as well as finishing off the Myford freestanding bandsaw, which is going to be quite a fun project to do. So I've had an idea. The shelf rack idea is going to be a twin system. It's going to rotate similar to the Anchor tool cart, like this. It's going to be on wheels. It's going to be a bit wider, a lot taller, and I'm going to have metalworking for one side, and I'm going to have woodworking for the other side, because I've got, now ignore this messy side, I'm still tidying. So I have behind there is my wood lathe that I built some time ago. I have my wood lathe. I've got another lathe that's going to be restored. I've got blacksmithing equipment that I've got to do, and I've got a lot of woodworking things that are in there, and welders. If you can see that, I've got my MIG welder, I've got my metal cut-off saw, load more vices, and I want to get them used. And I've, the tools like this that I really enjoyed building. I want them on a rotating cart, but I don't want to take up a lot of space because my workshop isn't that big, and I've got a lot of tools and kit for, I can tackle most jobs really. So space is a luxury. This is organised at the moment, well, semi. This side is organised. The other side needs improving. So like slip rollers as well. I've got an English wheel that I've designed. That's going to be made because I want to build a few things with that. And it's difficult to actually make things in here. I know that sounds crazy, but the things I want to be doing needs a lot of space and use a lot of different tools. you know. And this space in here, it's a bit of an awkward size. This floor area on here, it is in a bit of an awkward size to get in. So it is tricky. I keep buying material and wanting to start projects and then not wanting to. You know, I've got like all the blacksmithing kit, I built the forge, and I've got all the anvil, and I've made a lot of tools on and off camera. And that's going to be the blacksmithing area. And I'm going to put the forge on top of here, open this up, and I'm going to put the gas bottle inside of there. So that's going to be really cool. And then I wanted to carry on building a steam engine that I started and finish off the press brake tooling that I've got to make. So there's a lot I need to be doing in 2020. It's going to be a big year. Yeah. More subscribers, more videos, more ideas, more designs, more stuff, because stuff is great. Yeah, next video coming soon.